Hello. Oh my gosh. How y'all doing? I am excited about today's class. And I am truly hoping that today's class changes your life. Um, as I was thinking about today's class and kind of some of the things that we were going to talk about, I was thinking about just how many people deal with this problem. I mean, how many people deal with the poverty mindset and deal with overcoming, not just deal with the poverty mindset, but deal with overcoming the poverty mindset. Um, and it's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm going to break it down for you today. And I'm also going to leave you with some tools and some strategies to be able to overcome the poverty mindset in today's class. If you are here with me live, go ahead and drop your name in the chat and let me know where you are tuning in from. Hello, Alicia. So good to see you. And I'm just excited to kind of hop in. So let me just start off, first by, kind of giving you a little story, a little background, because we all have some kind of story, some kind of background as it pertains to the poverty mindset and how we got to where we are, even to this day, right? Or how we got past where we were when we had the poverty mindset. So some of y'all know I grew up sleeping on a couch in a crack house because my mom was addicted to drugs. And it was a very difficult time when I was younger. I mean, just hands down. We struggled a whole lot. And so most of what I knew in life growing up was struggle. Now, I'm not saying I didn't have some good times and some good days and all of that, because I know that we all do, especially as kids. There's, for the most part, there's always some good times that we can remember. But some of us maybe remember struggle more than we remember the good times. So here I am, having to sleep on a couch in the crack house. You can imagine what that did to our financial situation, right? And we lived in the projects already. So you already know, if you live in the projects, you ain't got no money. And so we lived in the projects. But, at the end of the day, my mom, she was amazing in the sense that she always kept a clean house. Even though we didn't have a lot of money, we never went hungry. We was never hungry, because I'm going to tell you, Lucy, honey, she could stick a foot into anything that she cooked, right? And that's one of the things I miss the most. So that's how we grew up. I knew, that this is not how other people were necessarily growing up, but this is how we were growing. This is how we grew up. And we grew up like that for the majority of my childhood. I realized that my mom had an addiction when I was around 10. And from that point on, it was an uphill battle. It was an uphill battle. And so I ended up getting things like, or statements, given to me like, oh, money don't grow on trees. So I would ask for things for my mom, and just like any kid, I mean, all the kids, we all ask for things, from our parents. And what I got met with was, money don't grow on trees. And I'm like, oh, it don't? Like, I mean, as a child, you don't know what that means, right? Money don't grow on trees. And I'm like, oh. So what I took from that, though, is that, no, you can't have that thing because we don't have enough money. And it was always that. There's never enough money. There was never enough. There's not enough. There's never enough. And when you hear, and you can even say that, like, in today's society, when you hear something enough, then that thing becomes true for you, right? Like, so if you grow up hearing that money don't grow on trees, no, we don't got no money, don't ask me for nothing, no, 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 we don't have any money, no, we cannot buy that. If you hear that enough, then guess what? It starts to get ingrained in you. It starts to get ingrained in your whole being, how you operate in life. And that is what happened to me. Because we grew up in poverty, and my mom also had a poverty mindset, and she was also dealing with an addiction. And so when you put addiction or any kind of, challenge like that on top of being in poverty, you just perpetuate the issue even more. So here we were, here I was as a young girl growing up in poverty already, and hearing the messages of poverty, right? Money don't grow on trees. We ain't got enough money for that. And the value of it was never on how to make money or how to come up. It was more so like, we just don't have it. So you just have to deal with it if you just don't have it. So that is how the poverty mindset starts. It starts with this indoctrination that you operate from a place of lack. And it's not something that you necessarily want. A lot of times it's something that you are around. And then as an adult, you don't know how to get out of that thing. And so it becomes very, very difficult. And you end up being like myself as an adult, and you end up spending money on stuff you don't need, buying things that are unnecessary, and putting yourself further and further in this thing we call debt. And if you are here with me today, you might understand exactly what I'm talking about. And it's not like it's not like you can help it sometimes. It's like you want to do better with your money, but because you have these ingrained experiences around money and what it means to be wealthy or abundant, you can't even get out of your own way. And that's how I grew up. So much so that in my adulthood, I could not handle money. But y'all got to understand, right? This is me. This is Dr. Kiki Ramsey. I'm a psychologist. I teach people all these things, but I was growing up in my adulthood, not being able to handle money, not understanding what abundance is all about, and also not being able to figure out why. Not being able to figure out why. And I ultimately figured out this one thing. And I'm hoping that you get this. Poverty mindset is absolutely rooted in scarcity, generational beliefs, and early life experiences. I hope that was freeing for somebody, because here's the thing. A lot of times we think that this poverty mindset is our fault, right? I think that at a certain point, when you understand what you're dealing with, it is your job to try to figure out how to overcome it, right? So from young age to the point where you become an adult, no. Once you become an adult, you have to figure out what you're going to do about it, because this is perpetuated from generational beliefs and childhood trauma. And you were told or you were shown that there's never enough. There's never enough money. There's never enough food. There's never enough time, right? Like, you think about how people are always like, rushing around and just It's because they have a scarcity mindset, right? And so when it comes to generational or poverty, having the poverty mindset, you have to understand that a lot of this was perpetuated when you were younger. It shows up. Let me tell you how it shows up. It shows up as a constant worry about money. Even here's the thing, even when your needs are being met, you still scared about money. Like you're scared about money. And I'm gonna tell you a story around that. It shows up as undervaluing yourself. You don't value yourself. You charge too little for your work, or you don't negotiate when you try to get a new salary. You just take what they give you because you don't value who you are and what you bring to the table. It shows up as playing really small in life. You're afraid to go for big dreams. You're afraid to bet on yourself and invest in yourself. And it also shows up in things you saying, I can't afford that, without even exploring the possibilities. When a client comes to me and they tell me they can't afford something, I will always ask them, what possibilities have you explored? If this is something you really want. Most of the time they ain't explored it because they count it off right away. They count it off like they can't. And so it shows up like that. People like me never get ahead. I'm just trying to survive. Do you hear yourself in some of these statements? And so here I am in adulthood, right? And I finally get married. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Right. I finally get married to the love of my life. Shout out to Dr. Ramsey. And I'm still spending money. Soon as I get money in my bank account, it's gone. I got to spend it. Soon as I get it, I got to spend it. And he was like, why do you do that? Like, we're okay. Like, something inevitably comes up. I mean, even if the bills was paid, something comes up. And because we have money in that account, we got to spend it. Like, I mean, it was just always something that I needed, or an emergency that just so happened to pop up that we have to spend the money on. And he couldn't figure out for the life of him why I did that. I could never stay on a budget. I would make impulse buys because I am used to always being broke. Yeah, I hope even with the story, I'm helping somebody. I was always used to being broke. So if I'm always used to being broke, what does my subconscious mind do? It makes me broke. It makes me do things that are going to ultimately leave me without money. Come on, somebody. So one day I went to the store, and this was a grocery store, and I just couldn't ever stay on budget. So I went to the store and I went over budget like always. And then I came home and Dr. Ramsey was like, you spend how much at the grocery store? And I'm like, well, and he started looking through everything. He was like, we didn't need all this. And I'm like, but we still, I wanted it. And so he said, you cannot go to the store anymore. Excuse me? He's like, yeah, I'm going to do the grocery shopping from here on out because we don't have that kind of money to be spending at the grocery store, right? Like we need to stay on a budget. But for me, because we had money in the account, I needed to spend it. He took the grocery shopping for me, and me being who I am, baby, I was hot. I was so angry, so mad at him. And I actually even stopped cooking. I know it ain't right. It's not right. But I actually literally stopped cooking. And I remember coming to him one day and I had a pack of chicken. I said, What do you want to do with this chicken? Because you bought it, so I don't know what you planned on doing with it. Out of control. Just out of control. Because here's the thing. When you are so ingrained in your toxic behaviors and just things like the poverty mindset, it is so difficult for you to come out of it, but you got to be self-aware. And deep down, I knew, but I didn't know how to go about overcoming something like the poverty mindset. Who the hell knows how to overcome this? All I knew is that I overspend. I don't want to. I've tried to stop before, but I can't. That's all I knew. But that was the straw that broke the camel's back. When my husband is telling me that I can't go to the grocery store and buy groceries. What? You sound crazy. But luckily for me, that when I face challenges that are super difficult, at some point, I'm going to sit back and ask myself some questions. So I had to have a real hard conversation with myself around this time. And this was early in our marriage. I've been married for this year, be 22 years. I had to sit back and have these real hard conversations with me. And sometimes that's what we don't do. We don't sit back and have the hard conversation with ourselves. We want to blame everybody else and we want to be all up in everybody else's business. But you straight over here overspending and doing all kind of things with your money and you know you ain't supposed to. So I sat back and I started thinking, I'm like, all right, Key, why the hell you keep on doing this? Why is it that you cannot have money in the bank? Like, why is it so hard for you to see money in the bank or money in savings or anything like that? Why is that? Let's think about this really hard. And oh my God, when I realized why, it was such a mind-blowing like revelation to me. So through this process, and this wasn't that one day, right? I literally had to go through a process of journaling, really thinking back about, my life and everything like that. Had I been able to afford some therapy, because, at that time I couldn't, but so I had to, I had to do it on myself. I had to really go back. So here's what I figured out. So that mom I told you about, my loving mom, Lucy. Lucy was an amazing person, but she had her addiction, right? But during the first of the month, because we were on welfare and then, lived in the projects, Lucy used to give me money. She used to give me and my sister money. It'd be like $10, maybe $20 here or there. And when she first started doing this, I was a saver. I would save my money. My sister, she would go spend her money, but I would save my money because I just thought that was the thing to do. Nobody taught me, but I was, always in my mind, I had something that I wanted to buy. So this was the first of the month. By the 5th of the month, Lucy always came back and said, "You still got some money?" And I'm like, yeah, I still got it. I was saving it. Let me borrow it. What? Wait, huh? What? Now, I'm a child, y'all. I'm a child in this scenario. Let me borrow it. I mean, but mommy, I was, let me borrow the money. I done told you I'm going to give it back to you. I'm a child. So what am I supposed to do? So I gave her the money. And that happened to me several times. So guess what I started to do? Yep, you got it. You got it. You got it. I started to spend my money as soon as she gave it to me. Because she would always give it to us. She would always, my mom was one of the most generous, caring, loving persons you will ever meet. She would give people the clothes off her back if she had to. She'd give other people her last meal if she had to. That's how loving and kind she was. So she would always give us something. Even if it was $5, she would give it to us. But she always came searching for it back. So guess what? In order for her not to do that, or in order for her not to get it back, I started spending it right away. I couldn't wait to spend it. Even if I ain't want nothing, but as kids, we always want something, right? I went and I spent them $5, $10, $20 immediately. And so every time she would come back and say, "You got some money left?" "No, I spent that. I spent that." And this went on for years. So in my adulthood, the fact that I could never hold on to a dollar made so much freaking sense, because I'm scared somebody is going to come take it. Now, the somebody, I don't know, because my mom is no longer here, right? She's no longer with us on this earth. So, but her presence turned into somebody. Who is somebody? It don't matter. I'm ingrained now. I'm indoctrinated up into this thing now. I'm deep up into this thing at this point. But here's the beauty in what I just told you. I had to come to the realization of what had happened. How did I get here? How did I get here? How did I get to the point where I can't keep a dime to my name? It ain't like I wasn't making money either. I worked. Now, a lot of years I did struggle as an entrepreneur because, I was just doing entrepreneur stuff, right? But I still worked the majority of my life and I could not keep a dollar to my name. But there's something in knowing and being aware. There's something in knowing and being aware. You have to become aware of the root cause of why you are the way that you are. Now, you may have resources, right? You may have resources to get therapy, to get coaching, to try to figure it out. I ain't got no resources. I had to figure that thing out on my own. So if you are anything like me, you need to sit down and ask yourself the tough questions. You need to say, "Hey, girl, where does this come from? What in your past, what in your childhood perpetuated this thought process?" Because let's be clear, the way you think ultimately affects how you feel. So the way you think about money, the way you think about abundance affects how you feel about it. And then how you feel about it ultimately affects what you do about it, what you do or don't do about it, right? And so for me, I thought money didn't grow on trees. Money was a scarcity. So I felt distant from money. I felt distant from anything remotely close to abundance. So I never tried to go after it. Or as a matter of fact, my actions were the opposite. I tried to get rid of it when I had it, because that's what was ingrained in me as I grew up as a child. You got to sit down and ask yourself these questions. Where did this come from? Think about scenarios and experiences that you've dealt with in the past that may have made you the way that you are. That is the very, very, very first thing that you have to do when it comes to the poverty mindset. If you don't do this, it will keep you stuck. It will keep you stuck. And, I love the Lord, and the God, he says a lot about abundance and wealth. And let me just mention this: abundance and wealth don't just deal with money, right? Like, it's not just a money thing. You can be abundant in relationships, right? And I've been, in my life very, very blessed to have amazing relationships, been married for over 20 years, right? I have wonderful relationships with my kids. I mean, we struggle, but wonderful relationships. Uh, and so you got to think about your life as a whole when we talk about abundance, abundance and health. Like, when you got good health, that's abundance, because baby, there's a whole bunch of people out here who are struggling physically with their body, right? As I get older, I'm like, Lord, okay, the body don't work like it used to. Right. So when we talk about abundance, there is a lot of things. And in John 10:10, it says, I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly. So the Lord really wants you to be abundant. I had to realize that. But that's a worth conversation, right? And so we go into a worth conversation when we're talking about abundance, because a lot of times we don't even see ourselves as thinking that we are worthy enough, right? So let me go down the list. The first thing you need to do when it comes to overcoming the poverty mindset is you got to backtrack your steps, boo. You got to figure out what the root cause is of your poverty mindset. And more than likely, it is based on something in childhood, or, your teens, or, early adulthood. It's based on something that you went through in the past, because you don't just get here. We don't just get here by mistake. Like, you go through something to get here. And I need you to give yourself a break, because once I learned, because I used to beat myself up all the time, because I used to really make huge financial mistakes. I used to spend, large sums of money in the name of professional development, in the name of, getting ahead, in the name of reaching my goals. That's self-sabotage. I'm just telling you. I understand it, right? Like, a lot of us have these reasons why we spend money, but really that's you're self-sabotaging your family, because if you look at it deep down, you shouldn't spend this money. And another way that you can tell that you are spending money and doing stuff that you ain't supposed to is when you're not willing to listen to other people who tell you about how to spend your money. Now, I get it. If you can't listen to a broke person trying to tell you how to spend your money, you broke too, boo. So you don't know either. But a wise person who is telling you or trying to give you wise counsel about your money, and you're not listening, then that's a sure sign that you are out of control and that you need to do something about this. So I don't know what your wake up call is, but my wake up call was the fact that my husband wouldn't let me go to the grocery store anymore and buy food. I mean, it don't get no worse than that. And I did the cooking for the most part. So you got to figure that out, and then you have to start taking steps to overcome and correct the behaviors that you're doing. So for me, when I realized that I why I was doing what I was doing, I had to realize that the somebodies who I thought was going to take my money, they don't exist. It was stories I've been telling myself. The reasons that I've been giving myself to spend money, they are not valid. I know. This hard, right? This is facing and taking accountability for your actions. And let me just tell you, if most of us took accountability for our actions and how we showed up in life, then we would be all better off. And so this process ain't easy, because you got to step up and you got to unbury all the things that you done buried. And you got to look at the books, and you have to look at the damage that you've done. And I had to do that. I had to look at the damage that I had already done financially, and start to figure out ways to unbury us from the debt that I had cost our family. And it's possible, but you have to start taking small little actions. And so in my instance, I realized what was going on, and so I put some safeguards into place. And that safeguard was that if I was going to spend anything over $100, I had to consult my husband. Ah! Mm, wow. That's so it's I'm just thinking about that. And I hated it, but I knew it was the right thing to do. If I was, and it was vice versa. Don't get me wrong. My husband wasn't out, he couldn't go out and wild out of control and just buy whatever he wanted either, right? Like we were accountable to each other. If any one of us was going to go out and spend money that wasn't slated for something that was over $100, we had to consult the other and we had to really listen, even when the other person said no. And I'm the kind of person that I don't like to get no. So you can imagine how hard this was for me. But I had to put a safeguard in. Some of you may not have a spouse, but you can find an accountability partner to help you with this, because you have to be accountable to yourself and to the goals that you want in your life. So you got to put some safeguards in. And then you also have to create some goals around money, around abundance, right? So one of my first goals that I wanted to create was to be able to join the Comma Club. Okay? So what is the Comma Club? The Comma Club is where you can look into your bank account and you have at least $1,000 with the comma, right? Like, so the 1,000. I wanted to join the Comma Club. And so I had to have at least $1,000 in the bank. And I just had to have it in the bank. It was not slated for anything, nothing. It wasn't to buy no clothes, no electronics. It was just meant to sit in my bank account and marinate. Baby, let me tell you how hard that was. Because, oh my God, I would see this money in the bank and everything in me wanted to come up with the reason to spend it. But I knew what I was accountable for. I knew what my goal was as well, was to get in the Comma Club. And maybe that's your goal. Maybe that's your goal, is that you want to also get in the Comma Club. I think it's a beautiful, worthy goal. You might be past that, right? But I think it's a beautiful and worthy goal. And so those were the things that I had to do. And then I had to learn how to think um, in abundance. I had to shift my mindset, right? So I created some powerful affirmations in my life. I am worthy of abundance in every area of my life. This is one that I still say to this very day. I am worthy of abundance in every area of my life. Money flows to me with ease and purpose. Come on, somebody. Like, I hope y'all writing these down, right? I hope you're writing them down, because these got me through and they still get me through, right? Because I am living in abundance right now. I let go of fear and receive God's provision because He has it for you. I am no longer afraid to succeed. The amount of people who are afraid to succeed is mind blowing, but I understand it, right? Because if you succeed, then more is required of you. Right? More is required of you. People look at you differently. You become a role model, all these things. And some people don't want to do that. People come out the woodworks because they feel like you got money, all the things. And so there's a lot of us who are afraid to succeed. But when you're thinking of abundance and you're thinking of overcoming the poverty mindset, you got You got to tell yourself that you are not afraid to succeed. I'm a worthy of abundance. There is more than enough for me. Woo! Somebody, let's talk about it right now. There's more than enough for you. I don't care what this world has to say. There's more than enough for you. There's enough room at the top for all of us. I know that a lot of people in this country do not believe that, but that's not going to stop me from believing it and operating in that. There's more than enough for you. I release fear and embrace faith. Wealth flows to me easy and constantly. So these are some of the affirmations that I had to say to myself on a daily basis. Because here's the thing, what you have to do is rewire your brain. When you grow up with the poverty mindset, it's like there's all these files. Like your brain is like a file cabinet, right? And when you grow up with the poverty mindset, all these files and experiences around money get filed in your brain. So over here, your mama told you that money don't grow on trees. Over here, your mama asked you for your money back. Over here, you went without food. Over here, you got evicted from your apartment. Over here, you lost your car. It got repossessed. I mean, all these files go into your brain and they hardwire you for poverty mindset. And so your recourse is to rewire your brain. What you are putting into your brain is what matters. So when you're saying these positive affirmations to yourself, they are rewiring the negative and the negativity that's in your brain already. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot. It takes 3 times as many positive affirmations as it does one negative. And that is the truth. That's the truth even to this day regarding anything. It takes 3 times as much positivity as negativity to rewrite a negative incident. It's just the way that it is. But we can do it. So I sum this up by saying, start by quieting yourself. Get your journal out and reflect. I want you to reflect on and ask yourself a couple questions. The first one is, how did I get here? How did I get to a place where I operate from a poverty mindset? Think about all your experiences, write those things out. The next one is, when did I first learn that I wasn't worthy of having more? When did you learn that? Because along the way you learned that. I was spending money because I didn't think I was worthy of having money. When did I first learn that? What do I have to suffer through to have blessings? Mm, 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 mm. And then what are some ways that I can begin to rewrite the wiring in my brain? And then lastly, what is my goal around money, wealth, and abundance? What would that actually look like for me? I did all these things over some years because it wasn't instantaneous. But if you start doing the first, like really discover the root cause, you will get some instant relief because now you know, right? At least you know. But I did all these things and I was able to overcome. And now I'm able to look at my bank account with several commas in it because that's the way the Lord has blessed me. And for me, I don't know, maybe I had to go through that to get to the place that I am right now, and for the Lord to trust me with more than enough, more than enough. And that's my prayer for you, is that He blesses you with more than enough, and that you're able to see it as such, and to hang on to it because he wants you to be wealthy. And so do I. All right, y'all. That's class for today. If you enjoyed this class, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to my channel and to share this video with somebody. My goal is to help millions of women to be successful. It has always been that, right? Even when I was going through the poverty mindset, I was trying to figure it out. That's my goal. And so your help with subscribing to the channel and sharing this video with someone is going to be a tremendous help, not only to me, but to them. You can bless somebody's life with this because I know that you know somebody else who needs to hear this. And if you want support, join my free community called Thrive Society. All you got to do is go to drkiki.com and click on the link for Thrive Society, and I'll see you there. We support each other. I coach you through difficult times because your success is my success. And as always, you have the opportunity to be and to create your own happiness. So go out there and get it. All right, y'all. Love you. Peace.